Welcome back, Shalloners. Today, we're going to talk about the psychology of a show-off, right? Because Kylie Jenner came out with a pretty big announcement recently, is that she is posing for Playboy. And I mean, she posted a picture of herself and her big, completely unnatural butt, like all cuddled up to Travis Scott, her boyfriend, the rapper. And like, he's completely, I mean, he's like mostly covered up, but honestly, like, that's fine. I have never in my life been like, what's going on down there with Travis? I don't know. Anyway. So we're going to talk about the kind of person who feels chronically compelled to show their goodies. And it can either mean you have very high self-esteem, or it can mean the opposite. And I bet you can guess which side of the spectrum Kylie Jenner falls on. But actually, if you're new to this channel, maybe not. I'll break it all down. But first, I want to remind you that if you want to talk to me privately, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO and click chat to get connected. But by the end of the week, my website is going to be up and running so you guys can submit your questions there. So if you're watching this after like September 13th, 2019, go to my website, shallonlester.com, and you can submit a question there. But don't go yet. Just if you're watching before then, just like give me a few days. It'll be up and running in a minute. And also be sure and follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO. You guys pick the topic for this. I let you guys vote, put it out there, listen to your suggestions, and be sure to listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, out every Wednesday, where I answer the best questions you guys submit to me over the week. So Kylie Jenner, we've talked about a lot here on this channel. So if you're new, here's the too long didn't read with Kylie. She's what I call a cold-blooded animal. Rihanna is a warm-blooded animal. What's the difference? Well, like a regular cold-blooded animal, like a snake, it relies on its environment to keep it alive, you know? And people can be like that with their self-esteem. They need the likes, the comments, the retweets, the validation, the eyes on them. They need that to regulate their inside core of self-esteem. That's Kylie Jenner. If she couldn't post, if she couldn't take selfies, if she couldn't self-aggrandize in that kind of way, she would not know really what to do with herself. Rihanna, on the other hand, is a bad bitch and our forever queen here on this channel. Rihanna doesn't need to show off like this. She doesn't need to show us what she's doing every minute of every day and go on these ostentatious vacations. I mean, she goes on them, but she doesn't have to post about it. They can exist purely for her and not for the world at large because she needs the feedback from it. You know the difference? And I used to be a cold-blooded animal, and now I'm a warm-blooded animal. And I made that switch because I stopped working on my angles for the selfies, and I started working on developing who I was. You do that through goal setting and reaching those goals. That tells you, hey, I can do something. You do that through giving back to other people. Wait a minute, I have a value in this world, like outside of how much I weigh, what my grades are, who I'm dating, who wants to have sex with me. I have value? Yeah, you do. And you do that through learning and constantly keeping curious about your environment, having hobbies, having interests. Interesting people have interests. And Kylie doesn't have many, right? So we're going to break down the two types of people who are that like showy bitch on the gram, you know, and dudes. All of this relates to dudes also, you know, they're not immune to this whatsoever. So it's either, I said, low self-esteem or too high self-esteem. Let's talk about people who are a little too high on the self-esteem. People like Kim Kardashian. Kim is, I believe, on the narcissism spectrum. I'm not a doctor. I obviously haven't evaluated her, but she has a chronic need for attention. And she also knows that there is no difference between positive and negative attention in her world for her brand. In fact, the trolls and the haters work in her favor because the more people like Kim faces backlash for blah, 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 blah. Kim called out for her crazy photo, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's like, whoa, that gets more eyes on her. Now everyone's paying attention to what she's doing. She might prefer adoration, but she'll take hate too. Their money's as green as everyone else's. Their eyes are as good as everyone else's, you know? There's also a big difference between Kim and Kylie because Kim is a full-grown adult. And I've said this before about like, should you post sexy pictures? And it's like, that's the difference between us, well, us and Kim in that like, it's not just that she's famous, it's that she's not in this fishbowl environment of like school or an office. When I had a corporate job, I'm now a full-time YouTuber. It's crazy. It's awesome. But like I would really restrict what I would post. Not like I was going to post like a crotch shot, for goodness sakes, but like I was much more judicious about what I would post. Not because like, oh, my mom would see it. Like, I mean, she knows who I am. Or like even my friends, it was like Joanna in accounting. I'd be like, oh God, I don't want her to see it, you know? And if you're in school, it's even worse because your reputation matters. That's a thing. I mean, of course, you can act however you want. You can post whatever you want, but the consequences to your reputation are going to be very real. And worse, you're going to leave school one day, but that reputation, the names that people called you, you're going to internalize that and you're going to keep repeating them for the rest of your life. Oh, she's a slut. Well, what a slutty picture. Slut, slut, slut. You're going to think that you're a slut, and then you're going to go into interactions with boys from a place of like weakness, of shrinkage, of apology. I'm just a slut. You know, you don't have to make actual plans. I'll come over on a Tuesday night at 11 p.m. and suck your dick. That's fine. No, that's fine. You're going to live that label. You know, Kim doesn't do that as much. I don't do that. Like, I'm more immune to that because I had a fully grown inner core of red-blooded animal self-esteem before social media kind of kicked in, you know? And I feel really sorry for everyone who's growing up with social media because like you don't have the ability to do that. And when we develop, this is a psychological fact, we go through a lot of personalities. That's what growth is. You're trying on different personalities, different vibes, different everything. And the mind purposely has its own filtration system to weed out and sort of forget and let go of the ones that were embarrassing, the ones that were a little bit toxic, the ones that didn't serve you. And it keeps the memories you are meant to have. Social media keeps them all. Social media overrides what your brain is doing. Social media doesn't let anyone forget. And again, you start to live a label. What do you mean you're preppy now? I thought you were like a shaved head lesbian. That's the last thing I saw about you, right, Kim? Like, you know, like you don't get to forget that persona. You don't get to forget that time in your life. I look back on my days as like an emo chick and I was like, someone called me the Paris Hilton of emo, of hipsters. And I was like, thank you. And they're like, it's not a compliment. I was like, no. And like, but part of the reason I look back on that so fondly is because it existed just for me. There isn't someone reminding me, look at this picture I found of you. Like we had like the MySpace and whatever, but like it was different. It existed more in our own vacuum, in our own world. But Kim, like I said, doesn't care. And like she's fine putting it all out there because she has enough core of esteem that she's a little bit more bulletproof. Like she'll take feedback and like nobody wants to hear like, you look really fat and bad in that picture. Like, all right. But Kim is also a narcissist. Kylie is not. Kylie is a cold-blooded animal, right? And Kylie's entire self-worth is tied to her looks. And I know what you're thinking, like, she's a billionaire with $1 billion industry, right? An industry based on her looks, okay? I mean, I thought about like this topic and I'm like, well, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Like I do social media stuff too. And like, I put myself out there like, yeah, but I could give advice even if I had like one eye. You know, if I wasn't hot, I could still give advice that's relevant. If she's not hot and if she isn't constantly cultivating that hotness, she's not going to sell products to girls who want to look like her. That's the whole deal, right? That's the whole construct of her entire identity. And that identity is based on her not being an ugly duckling anymore. Right? Of her leaving behind the ordinariness that everyone feels when they're an adolescent and becoming the surgerized swan. So she's tapping into that with people. And because she is, like consciously or not, she knows that she has to keep that up. So she is constantly having to outdo herself. Like she can't just post, remember like it used to be like selfies and then it was like, ooh, a little cleavage. And then it was like, whoa, is that like a crop top? Is that underboob? Now she's showing her butt crack in a magazine and probably, who even knows what else? I don't know. Playboy's like made a weird pivot. They're like, people don't want nudity. I'm like, you're right. Just ask the porn industry. Yeah, people aren't looking for nudes. I don't know. I don't think Playboy has long for this earth, but like they had a good run. But okay. So there's always this element of like, what's next, what's bigger, what's better. And when that is based on your looks, that's a real dangerous game to play. Because you know what happens to your looks as you get older? You get older, they diminish. This isn't like something that you can like put in the bank and it's going to compound. That's not how the aging process works. So Kylie is going to find herself in a real tough spot one day. Like she's going to have not the sexiness and people are going to be like, so what do you have to say? And there's not going to be an answer. You know why? Because there's not an answer now. I can post sexy, slutty things on Instagram, again, because I don't work in a corporate job and that is my luxury. And that is literally something I have earned through working at this channel and hustling and becoming an influencer and a creator. And like, I'm going to embrace it. This is part of the benefit package of not having a boss to answer to. If I want to post a picture like on Instagram, I can, and I'm only going to be hurting myself. I mean, you don't hurt yourself, but like, I'm not doing it for the likes. I've got the big dick energy already. And I take a ton of sexy photos, but like for me and like on my camera roll, not like nudes, but like, you know, like 10 selfies like this. I'm like, I look good. And that's the thing. I know I look good. I don't need like the masses to tell me I look good. I know I look good. And if someone doesn't like it, that's their problem. And that to me is more of like, not even just Kim's vibe, but Kourtney's vibe. Like Kourtney does sexy things from a place of strength, right? She's a bad bitch, and I did a whole video on her, why men love bitches, and why her attitude brings the boys to the yard. Because she doesn't have an attitude of, I need you, I need you. It's like, what are you offering me? What are any of you offering me? You know, what is the world at large offering me? Kylie's is the opposite. What do you need? What do I need to be to get the approval I so desperately need? You know, it's really tough. So when all you have is that sort of one-upsmanship, you're going to have to go for shock value because that's what your self-esteem is based on. And the more you feel like you got to dance and be like this like clown to get more eyes on you, you're going to feel so bad about yourself. And most of us have encountered this feeling in other ways. Maybe it's not like posting your tits on Instagram. Maybe it's like, I'm going to a party and like no one's going to like me if I'm not the funny one, if I'm not the drunk one, if I'm not dancing, if I'm not the wingman and bringing all the boys over here. And it's just like, when do I get to be myself? When do I get to be authentic? When you start, when you decide, not when someone gives you permission. Do you think the internet's going to be like, hey, actually, you can put on a turtleneck. It's completely fine. You decide that. You decide that. And remember what I was saying about like going for different aspects of your personality, you know, like as you're younger. Part of that is the sexiness and the exploration in that sense. But it doesn't all have to go on the internet. Doesn't have to go there because that persona in particular sticks. And you're probably thinking, great, I want to be seen as sexy. Of course, baby girl. Of course, we all do. We all want to be the center of attention and beautiful and rich and desirable. We all do. But that doesn't last forever. And you might be thinking, I don't need it to. I need it to last for the next half hour because I feel bad about myself. I get that. I get that. And if I'm being honest, like I'm like, it's not that I would post something sexy because I need to feel good about myself. I'm bored. And boredom is like my Achilles heel. Like if I am bored, it's catastrophic. And a bored woman is a dangerous woman. And this is true in relationships. This is true all over. Like, don't let your girl get bored. Bad things happen. So I'm like, okay, well, instead of sliding into my ex's DMs, which maybe I want to do because I'm bored, my boyfriend's far away, I'm going to take a selfie and I'm going to put it on the internet. Instead of sending something to one person, which has a lot of consequences, in my particular circumstances, there's less consequences to putting it out for 30,000 people on my Instagram or 150,000 on my YouTube channel. But that's not everyone's, right? So when is this healthy? When can this be actually like, okay, when you are doing it for that personality exploration, right? And like I said, that persona, that like sexy thing, it sticks. It's got a real long memory, more than the turtleneck photos. So use it sparingly. Think of sexy photos as seasoning in something you're cooking, right? Like chili peppers. You're not going to base the whole meal is going to be, it's like, well, it's a tin can of chili peppers and you dip in your meat. Nope, that's not what's going to happen. You're going to it's a little sprinkle. And I see, like, I stalk you guys sometimes and I see like, you'll have endless sexy selfies, all with like the same pose. It's always the same angles, the same pose. And it's very obvious you're trying to imitate somebody else. And I'm willing to bet that person's Kylie Jenner or Bella Hadid or Kendall or whoever. Also willing to bet you actually aren't these people. And not to be whatever, very few of us are as hot as they are. So what you're doing is saying, hey world, would you like to compare me to the hottest people on planet Earth? Come one, come all. I've made it very easy for you. I've made it all right here on the internet. Again, low self-esteem. You need to constantly be evaluated. And that's the downside you might not be realizing. When we put out a sexy photo, we're only really thinking about the accolades, right? Oh, the fire emojis and the likes. Love you, babe. Love you. Want to wear your skin. You're so hot. You're not realizing that unconsciously, people are comparing you. Who wants to be compared to anyone, right? Sorry. Why is it you put your phone in like notification, do not disturb, and it's still like, hey, but how about this notification? It's like a fucking jack in the box. I hate it. I even have this thing in airplane mode right now. Anyway. So yeah, you're inviting a lot of comparison. And when you're exploring different sides of yourself, comparison and opinions, not what you need. You need to be able to develop who you are in that vacuum. And it's ironic because you think like, well, why can't, like me posting something should give me more clarity about who I am because I'll receive feedback. Aha, but that's the problem. You developing your authentic self is not a feedback-based thing. That's not what it is. You're not developing like a product where it's like, oh, well, like you need to tweak this and do that. No, that's not authenticity. You are not a coffee table someone's building. You're not a smoothie someone's making. You're a person. You're a woman. You are who you are, and you get to change and develop that yourself based not on what a focus group on the internet, all your followers have to say, but based on who you actually are and who you want to be, your healthiest, best self. So when I post something, I don't give a fuck if other people like it. I like it. And I post things from memory keeping. Like I almost never look at how many likes I get. If I do, it's only because it's like an interesting metric. It's like, oh, people actually like, I get way more likes if it's a picture of me versus like a sunset. And which is why I'm kind of like happy they're going to take away the likes because like, I want to, if I go on vacation, I see a pretty sunset. I want to post a sunset, you know, and not in the back of my mind be like, oh, well, it's going to annoy people. You know, that's my only thing. Like, I don't want people to see my feed and be like, she's posting this shit again, you know, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm going to post what I want to because that is my diary. That's a record of my life. And it's a record of like, I'm hot. Like, I'm probably not going to have these boobs forever. I'm not going to have this face forever. Why not memorialize it? Great. And again, there is a time and a place for that. And you can do that. But again, it needs to come from a place of strength. So you got to sit down and be honest with yourself. I mean, you don't. I talk to girls all day long who aren't. You don't have to be honest with yourself. You can lie about, look, you can lie to your friends. You can lie to your mama. You can even lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself about where you're at and where you want to go because you cannot change what we don't acknowledge. And acknowledgement is the root of growth, right? And if you don't grow, you're going to end up like these Instagram sluts who it's just like the shirts get shorter, the booty gets fatter and more out there. And it's like, what do you have to say? What is your platform as a human person? What are you bringing to the table besides nipples and a vagina, which, hello, we all have. You are not special. Not for that. You're probably special for a whole bunch of other things. Your empathy, your intelligence, your warmth, your dreams, your math skills. But you're not special because you're hot. Sorry. Be special for all the other ways. Kylie is like, when she gives her interview, she's like sort of funny. I mean, sort of. The bar's kind of low. But I'm like, girl, like I would love to hear like something funny that you have to say or something you've learned. But she's not doing that. She herself has decided she's the product. She is the coffee table that needs feedback. She is the smoothie that someone's making. It's, well, I like more of this and less of this. That's why she surgerized her whole body. She didn't organically, maybe, if she'd been raised more healthily, she probably wouldn't have done that to herself. She should have known that she was perfectly fine all along. So I want to know your thoughts on Kylie's Playboy spread, and I hope it's not like spread. Oof. Girl, I guess if you paid for it, flaunt it, but I'm going to be doing some more videos on this kind of stuff. And if you have other Kylie topics, definitely let me know. I know you guys love to hear about her, and I love to talk about her. Like, she's a beautiful girl. She's a cute mom, like a good mom, not a cute mom. She's a cute mom, but there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. But like I said, feel free to follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO, where I let you guys vote on the next video topic, and listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, every Wednesday, where I answer the best questions of the week.